All right, let us prepare ourselves for the Word of God this morning. And I'm taking our reading from Psalm 137. I'm reading from the King James Version. And there you find these words recorded. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song. And they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? For they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? I want to speak this morning from the subject, don't lose the song that God gave you. Don't ever lose the song that God gave you. This psalm, very evidently, is written in the time of the Babylonian captivity. We've spoken about that captivity many times before. And when Judah was taken away and put into a foreign land, there they witnessed their land totally destroyed. Their temple was taken down and burned to the ground. Their priests, their kings, their prophets were killed or dragged off into captivity. In this land, they were forced to witness and many times forced to participate in pagan worship. Their faith, their religion, their worship was outlawed and not allowed. And so it was a time of utter distress and despair. It was a time of total hopelessness, where it seemed like it was all over, that the life they once knew was now gone. And to add salt to the wounds, to add misery to the pain, they were tormented here. And here in this psalm it says that their tormentors said, Sing us one of those tunes that you guys used to sing back in Jerusalem. We kind of like the melody. So play us some of those songs. And it was then that they realized that something had totally been lost in their lives. Their song was gone. They could not sing. Their hearts were broken, and their lives were in shambles, and there was nothing to sing about anymore. Singing was always a very important part of worship. There are countless scriptures that speak about singing, music. Psalm 96, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day after day. We go back to the Exodus when they were delivered from Egypt and from bondage. God parted the Red Sea. And they marched across on dry land. Then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to the Lord and spoke, saying, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. When they passed through the Red Sea, they broke out in song and praising. Tells us furthermore that Miriam, Moses' sister, got the women together. Then Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. So there were countless occasions in which singing and lifting up the voices to God were an important part of worship and praising God. We have the history of music, and the history of music actually goes way back to the beginning of time, to the beginning of mankind. We read in the book of Genesis, Lamech married 2 women. Interestingly, this is the first reference to multiple marriages in the Bible. He married 2 women, one named Ada and the other Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who lived in tents and raised livestock. His brother was Jubal. He was the father of all who played string instruments and pipes. So way back in the early dawn of humankind, we see Jubal was the father of all musicians, meaning he was the first, the leader of those who would discover music as an expression, music as part of the human experience and the part of the worshiping of God. We read a story of the fallen King Saul, a rejected king. It says, whenever the Spirit from God came upon Saul, and that's, by the way, the Spirit from God, not the Spirit of God. Whenever the Spirit of God came on Saul, David would take up his lyre and play. Then relief would come to Saul. He would feel better, and the evil spirit would leave him. We see here an illustration of a common phrase: music hath charms to soothe the savage beast. Music has an effect on our emotions, on our moods. Music can actually invoke certain feelings and mindsets to us. And this is how God made us. Our bodies, our minds, our emotions respond to music. This is clearly seen, perhaps better than ever, in movies, particularly in the silent era, where words were limited. And the silent movies utilized music to help convey and tell the story. Here's a sample of how music was used. you notice that we're in a tense scene? A man is up on a roof, a dangerous situation, and you hear the music enhancing the seriousness of it and the tension. And then he falls off of the roof, and the music changes to this comical kind of mood so that you know this isn't really serious. This is fun. This is comedy. No one's going to die here. And so what would normally be perceived as something grave and serious, the music tells you in a completely different kind of emotion. Relax. There's nothing bad going to happen here. This is a comedy. So we see how music actually tells you what to feel, how to think. It tells you, it coerces you, it moves you to think and feel a certain way. Who can forget this one?
Pippin! Come on, Pippin! Pippin!
You knew when you heard the music that there was going to be trouble, that something was going to go very wrong here. You didn't have to see the beast. You didn't have to see the shark. You knew that this is not going to be good. Again, how music actually instills emotion within us. Who can forget this scene?
Oliver, I want to help.
Jenny's dead.
I'm sorry.
Love? Love means never having to say you're sorry.
I see some of you weepy eyes right now. The music says it all. The music that just adds to and creates a mood. People, human beings, are built to respond to music. What's interesting is that we find within the scriptures, God also responds to music. We find that in the temple, the first temple, King Solomon, after many, many years of worshiping in a tabernacle, basically a large tent, had now established a real building and a temple, and it was a glorious temple. And when they went to dedicate that temple to God, we read that the trumpeters and musicians joined in unison to give praise and thanks to God. Accompanied by trumpets, cymbals, and other instruments, the singers raised their voices in praise to the Lord and sang, "He is good, his love endures forever." What was the response to their singing. Then the temple of the Lord was filled with the cloud, and the priests could not perform their service because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the temple of God. When they started to sing and make music as part of their dedication, God responded and sent His glory into the temple. In fact, when the cloud appeared, that's when they knew that God has now filled the temple with His glory. We saw this a few weeks ago when we preached of Zephaniah, how God responds to our devotion. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In His love, He will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Notice this is not us singing. This is God singing. This is God rejoicing and breaking out in song. It's an amazing verse that tells me that the way we live our lives and the devotion that we have toward God can cause a response in God. The way you live your life, the way you serve God can cause God to break out in singing. Contrast this with the book of Revelation. Jesus is speaking to the churches. And in one of those churches, He says, so then, because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will vomit you out of my mouth. Here's a whole nother response to God. And it provokes the question, what kind of response are you giving God? Are you giving God the kind of life that makes Him sick? Or are you giving God the kind of life that causes Him to rejoice over you? It's a very thought-provoking idea. There was a very young Michael Jackson, and he sang a song on the Ed Sullivan Show. I want to share that here. Rendition. He sang Who's Loving You on the Ed Sullivan Show. And we marvel at the talent and the singing style of this very young kid. But when I was listening to this, I'm thinking about it. He was 10 years old when he sang that. And he's singing about his long-lost love. He's singing about a girl that has now left his life and left his life shattered, and his heart is broken, and he doesn't know what he's going to do now. And now he's sitting pondering, who is she loving now? 10 years old. Which tells me, because actually he didn't write that song. He wasn't the first one to sing the song. It was written by Smokey Robinson and first sang by him. My point here is that, like us, sometimes we sing songs that are not us. We sing songs that other people are living. You see, a song is your testimony. It's your story. It's an expression of your experience. Are we singing things that really have nothing to do with our lives? Are we singing songs that other people are living out and we're just joining in the melody? I'm preaching hard now. You see, when what you sing doesn't match with what you're living, then you're like in one of these situations, singing a song that doesn't belong to you. Jesus spoke about, it says, verily, truly I tell you, we speak what we know, and we testify to what we have seen. When your talk doesn't match your walk, then you're just singing songs because they sound good. You're singing songs because you enjoy them. But does your song line up with who you are? We're instructed in Colossians, let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom. He says, teach each other, encourage each other. How? How do we do that? Through songs, hymns, songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. Singing should be an integral and important part of our worship and our lives. Singing is how we minister to each other. When you find people in a worship service, we usually think that the singing part is just basically a warm-up for the preaching. We don't see that the singing part is just as much a part of the worship of God as is the preaching. That the singing part is just as much as ministering to one another as is the preaching. There are those who get up and say, well, I don't sing. And they'll stand there with their hands in their pockets, not realizing that their singing is not only toward God, but it's to each other. The teaching, our lives, what we believe, our faith, is expressed through songs that we sing. So when we come together and we sing, I am a friend of God, we're reminded of the words of Jesus when he says, no longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all things that I've heard from my Father I have made known to you. Jesus calls us his friends. So when we sing that song, that is an expression of our faith. That says something about what we believe and our relationship with God. When we sing, great is thy faithfulness, we are reminded of the Bible verse. Through the Lord's mercies we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. So singing, the songs that we sing, become very important in our worship. It even goes to expression in sharing our faith. We think about sharing faith as handing somebody a tract. And that is certainly one way to do it. But it says, give thanks to the Lord and proclaim his greatness. Let the whole world know what he has done. Sing to him. Yes, sing his praises. Tell everyone about his wonderful deeds. When you come together in church and you sing and you clap your hands, you are telling everybody of his greatness. You're telling everybody just how excited he makes you feel. In the book of Revelation, there is a group known as the 144,000. We're not going to talk about the identity of that group. That's a whole nother lesson. But what it says about this group, it says they sing a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and before the elders. No one could learn that song except the 144,000 who have been redeemed from the earth. Here's a group of people that had a song that was just for them. No one else could learn that song. No one else could sing that song. Now, what does it mean? Clearly, if I know the words, I can sing the song. What he's saying is that that song captures an experience and marks an identity that's unique to those people. And no one else can sing the song like they sing it. God has given you a song that no one else can sing. Oh, I can share it. Maybe I can identify with it. But what God has done for me is unique to me. And when I sing a song, I sing what God means to me, what he has done for me. Your song becomes who you are. Your song becomes your identity. Nowadays we have the rappers. And rapping is just something I never could quite get. My son is really into it, and for me it just kind of works on my Prozac level. But the rappers are all about identity and their roles. Rappers pride themselves as being the tough guys, being mean, being streetwise. To the point where if you lessen the lyrics of violence and meanness and vulgarity, they'll call you soft. And there's nothing more offensive to a rapper to be identified as someone who is soft. If you're going to sing something about love and kindness and gentleness, then you can't be a gangster rapper. Because the rappers have to be all about mean, heartless, ruthless, violent, strong. This is their identity, and this is their singing. It's interesting that over the years, here's one rapper, this is Ice-T. Now back in my day, Ice-T was a controversial rapper. He was the one that made a song that talked about murdering policemen, killing policemen, and he had no apologies for that. He boasted that that's what his life was about, and that was in his heart, and that's what his singing was all about. And he wrote a song that was vulgar and violent toward police officers. Over the past 15 or so years, Ice-T has now been playing a police officer on a TV show. This is Ice Cube. And Ice Cube, again, was one of those who was noted to be mean. Just look at him. And he was very critical of other rappers who seemed to have gone soft, who strayed away from the vulgarity and the violence in the lyrics. And he was hard on other rappers that said that they're selling out because they're becoming soft. Years later, Ice Cube now is in Hollywood making kiddie movies. You see, their identities that were tied to their songs were changed over time, over circumstances. They lost their song. They found new songs. Roberta Flack was a singer, and she made popular a famous song called "Killing Me Softly" with his song. I remember as a young kid, I really didn't understand what that meant until I started listening to the words. And it's about a person who walks into a nightclub and there's a singer playing the guitar. And she sings that the words to his song was all about me. He's seen here someone that she had no idea who he was, never seen him before. And yet, the words that he was singing about identify with her. And so, some of those lyrics, strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song. I felt all flushed with fever, embarrassed by the crowd. I felt he found my letters and read each one out loud. I prayed that he would finish, but he just kept right on. You see, a song has a way of speaking about our lives. How many of us hear a song and we say, that's my song? Because the words, the music that's being expressed is telling my story. This is why when so many artists and singers die, we're moved by it. They're brought to tears. People that you've never met and know nothing about personally, but they sang your song. The words that they wrote and sang spoke so often to who we were. James says, if anyone among you is troubled, let them pray. Is anyone happy? Let them sing songs of praise. Singing is our expression of who we are and what we are about and how we feel and what we believe about God. What happens, though, when life seems to rob us of our singing? Life seems to steal away our song. David talked about a time in his life when he went through something very painful, and David was greatly distressed. For the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. When you sing a song, you encourage yourself to go on. If you allow circumstances to steal your song, you'll find yourself in despair. But when you have a song, meaning that you know what God has done for you, then you can't let anyone, you can't let anything take that song away. The psalmist said that weeping may endure through the night, but joy comes in the morning. There are times when you're going to find yourself in all kinds of distress. You're going to find yourself in all kinds of trouble. But when God gives you a song, that's something that can carry you through. When you think back on where He has brought you from and what He has done for you, it's enough to carry you on to the next day. When I think back on the times that I have been down, there were times when I felt like giving up. but God would bring back a song in my life. And I realized there's no one or nothing that can take my song away. Because when I think on the goodness of Jesus and all that He has done for me, my soul cries out, hallelujah. Praise God for saving me. I'm not going to let anyone steal my song. I'm not going to let anyone bring me down. I might not have a job. I might not have any friends. But I'll let nothing, because God has given me a song that the angels can't sing. And when I feel like giving up, when I feel like turning around, I think back to my song. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore. But the master of the sea, He heard my cry, and it was love that lifted me. And I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. I won't let nothing take away my song. You can bring me down, but I'm going to clap my hands. You can't take me from stomping my feet. You can't stop me from praising my God, because He gave me a song, and I'm going to sing my song. I'll praise Him in the morning. I'll praise Him in the evening. I'll sing my song when I'm up. I'll sing my song when I'm down.